DC defends the district in the Alamodome tonight on Friday Night Football. What an absolute amazing game that we saw from both teams. Quite frankly, as I talked about earlier today in my preview video for this game, is for the San Antonio Brahmas to even come close to beating the DC Defenders and giving them a run for their money, or potentially giving them an upset again for the second time in 3 weeks. That's exactly what the San Antonio Brahmas did in this game. They held their ground, and quite frankly, up until the last second of near the game, they had the opportunity to either come back and tie the game or win the game at the end of regulation. Now, of course, with this being said, the DC Defenders come away with the victory in today's game, 32-24. And what I did here was something special for the overall recap. Is I put all the highlights together. We're gonna play them here on the screen, and then at that point, what I'll do is kind of go through the motion and everything that talks about the rest of the stats of the game and kind of go over these drives or whatnot that you're about to see. But if you didn't witness this game, it was a very competitive game for both teams. And quite frankly, San Antonio did not let up on the gas all night long. Absolutely amazing game we saw. So let's go ahead and play these highlights here. And we start out with a highlight that basically the DC Defenders started out this game with the ball. Jordan Ta'amu passed a deep right completion to Sanders for 38 yards, and it was a touchdown. But what happened here, and there's no audio on the video, just so you know, what happened here is San Antonio ended up challenging for a potential foul, and the play was overturned. There was holding called on the offense, and Jordan Ta'amu's pass to Sanders ended up not counting here. Oh, man, what an upset for the Defenders. They would end up actually costing themselves in the long run with this because of the fact that they did nothing with the remainder of this play here. And San Antonio won that challenge and also stopped the Defenders and made them punt the ball to them, which ultimately is exactly what they were wanting to do. On that next drive, didn't really go much for San Antonio. They went 6 plays for 43 yards, 4 minutes and 22 seconds left. They ended up DC got the ball back, and that is when late in this drive on 1st and 3, Jackson rushed right up the guard for 3 yards for a touchdown. They went for a 2-point conversion that Jordan Ta'amu went to pass to Roland, and it was failed on that attempt. So at that point, you had the game 6-0 with DC leading, and it looked like at this point that, again, we are starting to see this potential from the San Antonio Brahmas and the kind of downfall that we've seen over the past 3 weeks since they beat the DC Defenders. But they got the ball back and went into the second quarter of the ball, and this is where they finally got their first touchdown. It took another whole quarter and about 5 minutes into the second quarter where Hogan stepped back on 2nd and 7 on DC's 7 for a short pass to the left made by Mack for 7 yards and got the touchdown. They went for a 1-point conversion, but the pass was incomplete to Kirkland, and that tied the game at 6-6. 10-play drive, 62 yards, and 6 minutes and 24 seconds left on the clock in the second quarter. Or 6 minutes used off the clock in the second quarter. The next drive was the DC Defenders. They ended up kicking a 63-yard kickoff, and Roland returned the kickoff. And then what happened here was the San Antonio Brahmas came in and hit the ball right with the helmet, right out of the arms of Roland. And at that point, the San Antonio Brahmas recovered it. And right away, you knew San Antonio is coming for blood. they are coming to end basically this revenge tour because Jordan Ta'amu and the DC Defenders came out prior to this game saying this game was revenge for what happened in DC in week 4. So on this drive here, the drive started with 10 minutes and 10 seconds left in the second quarter. Kevin Hogan on first and 10 had a short incomplete pass. Then on second and 10, he rushed for nothing, didn't get anywhere. And then it led to a third and 10, a big third and 10 on this one on DC's 12. So they were at least in field goal range, but again, they needed another touchdown to continue this. Unfortunately, even with getting a first down, they got the 3rd and 3. Kevin Hogan stepped back to pass, but the pass was incomplete, intended for D. Anderson, who just came to the San Antonio Brahmas in a trade with the Memphis Showboats earlier this week, so he's already playing. That set up a 4th and 3 on the DC 4 for a 22-yard field goal attempt, which was good. So that brought the San Antonio Brahmas lead to 9-6 as DC got the next play. Quite frankly, the San Antonio Brahmas at this point held them to a 3 and out and made them kick the ball back. They only 3 plays, 2 yards, a minute and 51 seconds. And quite frankly, at this point in the game, heading into halftime, San Antonio looked like they were on fire. It was like, okay, this is getting to be an interesting game because this is completely not expected. And DC, they had their touchdown, but there was just nothing going on after that. And then on the next drive, San Antonio Brahmas start with 4 minutes and 19 seconds left in the second, and they get it down to the DC 37 on a 3rd and 6. And Hogan stepped back and completed a pass to Kirtland for 1 yard, but it was not enough for the first down. Went to 4th and 5th on the DC 36, and Viz Calino, I believe is how to pronounce his name, hit a 54-yard field goal attempt, and it bounced right off the uprights into the field goal to be good. This was very close to actually hitting and missing, but he did get that, and that brought the score up to 12-6. With a minute and 33 seconds left in the quarter. That drive was 8 plays for 40 yards, 2 minutes and 46 seconds used off the clock. DC Defenders would get the ball back, and at this point, another 3 and out. For the DC Defenders, and quite frankly, the Brahmas wanted the ball back, and they called a timeout. The play only went 3 plays for 7 yards, 58 seconds left. The play started 1st and 10, pass to the right from Kevin Hogan to Kirkland for 1 yard. He was tackled at the DC 35. Clock was running, and what happens is instead of going for a field goal, which they were in field goal range, they called a timeout and continued to go for it with essentially about 19 seconds left on the clock. Kevin Hogan stepped back to pass, and he fumbled the ball. He got hit and fumbled the ball. DC Defenders recover it. Hines recovered it at the DC 49 and ran it back for a touchdown. San Antonio did try to challenge the potential foul on the play that there was holding, but there was nothing. So at that point, after Dean Blandino reviewed it, the play was upheld, and the DC Defenders scored a touchdown on the drive. They went for a 2-point conversion and failed. They essentially got a penalty on that. It was declined, and that ended the second quarter. That drive went 2 plays, 1 yard for 35 seconds, and we stepped into halftime at that point, the score being 12-12 tied. It was exciting at the half. As we moved into the third quarter, the San Antonio Brahmas got the ball back to start the second half. They went 11 plays for 69 yards, 6 minutes and 50 seconds used off the clock, and Kevin Hogan ended the drive with a short pass on the DC 2-yard line I believe it's Stylianos is how you pronounce it, for the touchdown. And they attempted a 1-point conversion and came up short on that. I tell you, the extra point conversions tonight were just not working out on both sides. San Antonio Brahmas took the lead again in this game, 18-12. DC defenders started a drive with 8 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock. This drive, again, they got a first down right off the bat. Jackson rushed right for a tackle, rushed right and was tackled after 15 yards. They got the first down, and then at that point, the San Antonio Brahmas defense stepped up again and continued to hold the offense. But what essentially happened here is they got to 3rd and 4th, they got the first down, but there was a penalty called on the defenders for a face mask. It was a 15-yard penalty at that point, and that set them back 3rd and 19 on their own 35-yard line. Jordan Ta'amu at this point made a completion up the middle to Abram Smith for 12 yards, but he was shy of that first down. They would end up punting the ball back to the San Antonio Brahmas. 4 plays, 18 yards, 3 minutes, and 4 seconds left. On the next drive, not much at all for the San Antonio Brahmas. They also ended up going 3 and out on this drive. They had a delay of game call that cost them, but they ended up only doing 3 plays, -3 yards on this, 2 minutes and 29 seconds. At this part of the second half, it looked like at that point it was going to be a long rest of the game. Both offenses were not jiving very well. DC got the ball back with 2 minutes and 37 seconds left in the third, and it only took 2 plays for the DC defenders to get a touchdown. Jordan Ta'amu threw a deep pass up the middle, caught by Powell for 29 yards and a touchdown. They would go for the 1-point conversion here and succeed, bringing the score, changing the lead again, 19-18 DC defenders. Next up, the San Antonio Brahmas would get the ball back with 1 minute and 44 seconds left. That prior drive by DC only went for 2 plays, 27 yards, and 53 seconds for 7 points. The Brahmas on this would end up getting a first down or starting a first down. They would get to 3rd and 3 as the third quarter ended and we headed into the last 15 minutes of this game. At that point, the San Antonio Brahmas continued on the drive. They got onto DC's side. It was 3rd and 16 due to a false start on the DC 45. Kevin Hogan stepped back to make the pass, which was a deep pass to the left intended for Mack. He ended up dropping it. It ended up being 4th and 16 at that point. Brad Wing was busy today, punting the ball back and forth or whatnot. That play went 8 plays for 20, or that drive went 8 plays for 20 yards, 5 minutes and 23 seconds left, 5 minutes and 23 seconds used on that play. DC defenders would get the ball back with 11 minutes and 21 seconds remaining. And on first down, Jackson rushed left for 4 yards. And then on 2nd and 6, Jordan Ta'amu passed to the left for a short completion by Bresnahan for 10 yards. He was pushed out of bounds, and that would set up DC 1st and 10 on their own 24-yard line. And this was absolutely amazing. Jordan Ta'amu stepped back, passed deep right up the sidelines for Sanders, 76 yards for a touchdown. They went for a 1-point conversion here, but was stopped at the line. 3 plays, 90 yards, 1 minute and 4 seconds left. 1 minute and 4 seconds used off the clock. San Antonio Brahmas start the drive, 10 minutes and 17 seconds left in the game. It is now 25-18 defenders, and it only took 2 plays for the Brahmas to score a touchdown. It was a frenzy at this point. On 1st and 10 on the San Antonio 35, Hogan passed up the middle, complete by Stevenson for 8 yards. And then on 2nd and 2, Corbin rushed right, cutting through some guards and literally ran up the middle of the field for 57 yards for a touchdown. They went for a 2-point conversion here, and it was failed due to Kevin Hogan getting sacked. The drive went 2 plays, 65 yards, and only 50 seconds used off the clock. San Antonio Brahmas are down by 1 at this point. It is 24-25. The DC Defenders drive would start with 9 minutes and 27 seconds left on the clock. They would essentially drive all the way down to the San Antonio 5 on a 3rd-and-3 play. DeLilio came into the game at this point. I think there was something going on with Jordan Ta'amu's helmet, with his strap that was messed up. The commentators had commented because Mike had stayed in the game a little bit longer than what they thought was happening. And they were like, is there something more wrong with Jordan Ta'amu here? We got to the 2-minute warning, and that's when Jordan Ta'amu came into the game. Back in on 4th-and-2, they went for it, which was a gutsy call on the San Antonio 4-yard line. The pass went right up the middle to, of all people, Britton got the pass for 4 yards. Big men up the middle. And this dude, I tell you, he was eligible on the play. I think it was a left guard or left tackle or whatnot, and he went right up the middle, turned around, and caught almost a one-handed pass and brought it in for a touchdown. They went for a 1-point conversion here and made it with 1 minute and 55 seconds left on the clock. This drive went 13 plays for 79 yards, 7 minutes and 32 seconds used off the clock, and that would bring the San Antonio dramas. That's what it became, as drama. San Antonio Brahmas left with 1 minute and 55 seconds. And right then you're like, okay, they have the chance to come back and either tie this game or go ahead. Matt Crane kicks the ball 69 yards, and Corbin returns the kickoff, and he gets to the San Antonio 29. Hogan comes out, completes a short pass to the right to Kirkland for 14 yards, 1st-and-10. Hogan steps back again, tries to go for a pass, but is sacked at the San Antonio 37 for a loss of 6 yards. They have to take a timeout at this point as the clock's running. They have 1 timeout left. It is 2nd-and-15. Hogan steps back to pass, and he's sacked again, this time at the San Antonio 27 for a loss of 10 yards. Wallace on the sack there. They had to take another timeout, so they just blew 2 back-to-back timeouts within 9 seconds. On 3rd-and-26 at this point, there was a penalty called for a false start. 5-yard penalty. At that point, it was 3rd-and-31 on their own 22-yard line. Kevin Hogan snaps the ball, steps back to go to complete the pass to Stevenson for 34 yards. But at that point, Stevenson fumbles the ball, which is forced by Thomas. It is recovered by DC's Johnson at the DC 42. And that right there, 4 plays, 27 yards, 42 seconds left off the clock, and DC defenders would go into victory formation for 2 snaps, and that would be the end of the game. Again, this game was a very exciting game. Overall, when we look at the individual stats, Jordan Ta'amu, another absolute amazing game, continuing to keep his stats up. He was 19 for 24, had a much better game this time around. 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, 79.2 completion percentage, and 154.5 quarterback rating. When we look at Mike DeLilio, he was 1 for 1, 11 yards, 100% completion rate, and 112.5 quarterback rating. absolutely amazing. That continues to keep Jordan Ta'amu number one in the league, and he continues to do what he's done every single time he's been in the league and been healthy. It's just crazy that this dude continues to do every single year what he has been doing. We look at Kevin Hogan. He had a pretty solid game as well. Very improved from last week. He went 20 for 31, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 64.5 completion percentage, and 108.3 quarterback rating. The rushing game, this was one thing I had mentioned DC needed to kind of get underway because they weren't doing much of it. This game was exactly the same. It was more of a receiving game for Jordan Ta'amu, as you saw with his passing yards. Essentially on the ground, they only had 20 attempts for 70 yards and 1 touchdown. The lead in this game was Deion Jackson, 10 attempts for 45 yards. Abram Smith, not much, 2 attempts for 13 yards. I will tell you, Abram Smith has been pretty decent this year, but he is definitely not the Abram Smith we knew in 2023. That ACL tear that happened last year before the 2024 season really looks to have an effect on him of getting kind of back in it, but he's not doing bad this year. It's just not all games he is performing at that normal level he has done. When we switch the other side of the ball on rushing, Corbin had 9 attempts for 109 yards and 1 touchdown. Hogan rushed for 5 attempts for 32 yards, and Robbins 9 attempts for 13 yards. So not bad in that perspective. Kevin Hogan and Corbin kind of led the game in rushing there. On the DC Defenders receiving side, Braylon Sanders had 1 touchdown for 76 yards. It was 1 completion as well. He was only targeted once in this game. Technically, if San Antonio wouldn't have challenged that first touchdown in the opening drive, he would have had 2 touchdowns for a lot more yards. But unfortunately, obviously, that was called back. Braley Moore McKinney had 5 completions for 71 yards. Powell, 5 completions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Mickens, 3 completions for 22 yards. Overall, again, the DC defenders did very well. It's surprised to see that Chris Rowland only had 1 completion for 7 yards. He did not do much in this game. You obviously had Gunnar Britton, who had 1 completion for 4 yards and a touchdown. Absolutely amazing there. Then on the other side of the receiving core, John Trey Kirkland, who a lot of people talked about, needed to be used in this game to get something going for the San Antonio Brahmas. He had 7 completions for 52 yards, no touchdowns out of him, but then Steven Stilianos had 5 completions for 46 yards, 1 touchdown, and then Ezeal Mack, 2 completions for 16 yards and a touchdown. Overall, again, great game by both teams. Just San Antonio came up short in the long run. Let me know what you thought about this game if you saw it, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for the wrap-up of the Michigan Panthers and the Arlington Renegades. Hope you have a great rest of your night or late night, as it's almost 1 o'clock on the East Coast. We'll see you on the flip side. Have a great one, everyone.